It's the Go Gopher podcast with Mike Grimm, episode number 188. I am Mike Grimm, voice of the Golden Gophers, and welcome back to the podcast. We have a fun show for you this week with two guests today. First, we'll talk Gopher cross country with head coach Sarah Hopkins. A busy week for her. First, it's the 39th annual Roy Griak Invitational on campus on Friday, and she'll give an update on both her men's and women's teams. Tell us what it takes to put on a meet of this nature, featuring 4,500 university, college, and high school runners, and much more. We'll also get a rundown on a fun competition that you, the fans, can get involved in, and potentially help the University of Minnesota capture a $1 million donation. The 2025 We Give Blood Drive is underway, and the Big Ten school that produces the most blood donations through December 5th gets a $1 million donation from Abbott. Fans who donate blood need to log into the Big Ten website and register that specific donation under Minnesota for the Gophers to get credit. So not only can you help save a life with a very important donation of blood, you can also help the U of M in a big way. Details later on in the podcast with Abbott's Kristen Ruffner. Our Go Gopher podcast is presented by alumni-owned Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're a business founder planning to exit your business, start by contacting Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. Sunbelt serves more businesses up to $5 million in revenue than anyone, and True North M&A serves companies with revenues up to $150 million. Get it confidential, no cost, no obligation business valuation started today. Make the most of your life's work. Visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com today. The Go Gopher podcast is also presented by onX Maps. Find out how to download the onX Fish app for free by listening to the Go Gopher podcast. We're podcasting episode 188 from the Aquarius Home Services studio. We invite you to subscribe to the Go Gopher podcast. It's free to do so. You can go back and listen to the Go Gopher podcast from previous weeks as well. Last week, for example, I chatted with Gopher defensive end Lucas Finnessy in a very compelling interview about Gopher football. Don't miss out. Go back and have a listen. There's still a lot of timely stuff in that chat. This week, though, we're talking Golden Gopher cross country and also the We Give Blood Drive, which is underway. Cross country head coach Sarah Hopkins is batting leadoff next.
I'm Clay Geary, walk-on turned scholarship wide receiver for Gopher football.
And I'm Ben Utek, U of M alumni, Super Bowl champion, and Tony Dungy Uncommon Award winner.
We understand championship culture, which is why we're part of the True North family of companies.
True North invests in only elite teams, like the champion team at Sunbelt Business Advisors, Minnesota's largest seller of companies. To learn more about True North and our diverse family of independently owned companies, visit TrueNorthEquityPartners.com.
It's episode 188, the Go Gopher podcast. It's one of our favorite weeks here on campus, the Roy Griak Invitational, men's and women's cross country, boys and girls cross country, as well as high school teams from all over the state and college division teams as well come into the U of M campus and compete. 39th annual Griak, and we have Sarah Hopkins, Gopher men's and women's cross country coach. Always a pleasure to see you. We spoke at halftime of the football game. You brought good luck that night against Buffalo, as you always do, and we have you on at halftime, and hopefully good luck for the Griak this week. Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
So for you to squeeze 20 minutes in for us here on the Go Gopher podcast this week, it's a big ask because you've got a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a big week. You know, we definitely put a lot into this meet. I think we've talked before, or I've talked with Guardsy, that, we start planning this meet the minute it's over 1 year into the next year because it is such a big deal. And for cross country in the Midwest, I think it is a staple for college kids, for high school kids, and we take that really seriously, and we want it to feel like a big-time football game or feel like a big-time sport. Oftentimes, cross-country, kids show up, they're in a field, they run, they go home. There's not a lot of pomp and circumstance, and we really believe that these kids should feel that at least a couple times during their season. And so, like I said, we take that seriously, and we do a lot to make sure that we can give them that experience. And we hope it's a great day for everybody involved.
Yeah, I suppose for you, it's weeks where you're putting all the work in, not just coaching your team to get ready for the biggest, it's not the only home meet you have, but it's the home meet, right? I mean, it is the home meet. You want to do well in this one. So you're coaching your athletes to be good in it, but you're also doing stuff like where do the T-shirts go and who's volunteering out on the, 1 mile mark. I'm making stuff up now, but right, there's the administrative role of the coach when you host a big event like this.
Yeah, for sure. No, we've got probably 4,500 runners, so we're stuffing packets, and we have 4,500 bibs and pins and box assignments and communicating with all those coaches coaches, obviously, and we've got that many teams you're communicating with on the upwards of 300 coaches, and obviously all of those 300 coaches have questions and ideas, and the amount of questions you get this week are high. But yeah, like I said, it's a labor of love, and we really enjoy doing it. But this week is definitely, I tell the team, like, I will absolutely meet with you and talk race planning, but we're gonna have to do it on the fly a little bit and do some different things. And luckily, we've got a couple groups that are relatively self-sufficient, and most of them have run this meet a bunch, whether that was in high school or in college so far. So compared to an away meet, they kind of know what to expect more with this one. And so the planning for them from the coaching standpoint is maybe a little easier than it is when you go to an away meet and they don't know quite as much about what to expect.
Yeah. I suppose, too, even from, I mean, I'm not saying it's on autopilot, but you've done enough of these. Many of the volunteers, many of the people you work with at a day-to-day basis on the administrative side have been through this event, too. So in some cases, it's just, this is what we've always done, but that doesn't mean the hours of the day get longer.
Yeah, for sure. No, there's definitely, I mean, our staff here is fantastic, and they've done it, our facilities people, our event management people, obviously the golf course staff, Brent and his staff and Eddie out at the golf course. We could not do it without them, being willing to have us traipsing around the golf course, but also their staff helps us out with setup and all that stuff. So yeah, no, everybody kind of does their GRIAC thing. This year's a little bit different. We moved the high school races to Saturday, which is a little new for us. It's usually try to have all been on the same day. So on Saturday, there will be a little different flow than what we're used to, but I think overall it'll be a good change. And so whenever you have a change, you also have to kind of go through that Rolodex in your head about what you might be missing when you're changing something too. So
next road meet, then, do you catch your breath a second? Like, I don't have to worry about who's where. I can just worry about my runners and how we hit the course wherever. I don't even know where you're going next week or the week after, but I assume that there's a bit of a relief when Sunday hits.
Absolutely. No, yeah, we get through, and then you do appreciate traveling. As a mom and somebody who's got kids at home, like sometimes on the road is hard, but GRIAC kind of makes you appreciate being on the road because you can show up, you run your race, you go home, you get on the flight to come home. We're actually going to Loyola Chicago in 2 weeks, and they have a great big meet there. And Gavin's a buddy of mine who coaches there, and you kind of go in and you're like, yep, I get it, because he's running on with his head cut off, and like, yep, I was there a couple weeks ago. So you definitely appreciate the away meets a little more after you get through this one.
So I hit you with maybe a dumb question right off the bat, related slightly to cross country, but the golf course is for sale. So what do we know what that means for the future of where you guys might have your home meet?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a lot up in the air right now. Like you said, I mean, it hasn't actually officially sold yet. So TBD on sort of the timeline of that. Obviously, we're going into high gear to make a plan on the chance that it does sell, or whether that's in a year or 2 years or 3 years. Obviously, the assumption is at some point it's going to sell, whether we can buy 1 or 2 more years of the current. But yeah, the goal is to still have the meet. The goal is to continue the meet. Obviously, it's this 39th year. We don't want to see the meet go away for the sake of the colleges, the high schools, everybody involved. Roy and his family obviously mean a lot to the university. And so, shout out to anybody out there who has a golf course or a large piece of land that would like to invest in cross country. We'd be more than happy to talk to you. But yeah, no, the goal is to find another piece of land to be able to do it on. Obviously, it's hard to come by when you're running races of 400 plus people. You need a pretty big plot and a big starting line. But yeah, absolutely, the goal is to keep the meet alive, and it might look a little different, but the goal is to keep it rolling.
Yeah, and I suppose a parking lot that has a lot of room for buses and all of that. And it's not as easy as, well, just go call a golf course guy and it should happen. Now, there are high school meets that go everywhere, but you got 6 high school teams running, for the Big 8 championship or whatever. God bless them. Yep. But it's not a GRIAC with 5,000 runners.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and the wear and tear on a golf course is different. Also, like October, November, like most kind of high school meets that go into the postseason. The state meet has been at the U now the last 2 years, and it's a lot easier to run on it on the first weekend in November because golf season's done. Yeah. It's a different ask to ask for a golf course the middle of September.
Right, because everyone's wanting their final rounds.
They've still got lots of business left ahead of them, and so you don't want to tear up people's courses with a month and a half left of their golf season. So, but yeah, no, I mean, we'd be happy to talk to anybody and see what that might look like. But like I said, the goal is to absolutely keep the meet going and keep a great thing going in the right direction.
I ask you this every year as well. You run the same distance wherever you go for the men's and the women's, and high school is relative to, they run the same. But the course changes how you might run. Is the GRIAC course generally the Les Bolstad course generally regarded as a pretty fair and challenging course and that people generally like it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think people liking it is debatable. If you like a hard cross-country course, you definitely like it.
So it's harder than the average, you'd say?
Yeah, for sure. I think especially for high school kids, the high schools are used to a little more of let's run, soccer field loops around the high school and things like that. And so definitely for high school kids, this is probably the hardest course they run. I would say for us, it's not necessarily the hardest course we run, but it is one of the harder courses on the circuit. And part of that is the hills, but there actually aren't any monstrous crazy hills, but it just never lets up. It's just never flat. There's never a respite of, okay, this mile is really flat. It's always kind of going up or going down. And so you just have to know how to run it. I think if you run it well, it's not that crazy. But if you don't, if you horse the first half, it's going to come and get you.
Yeah.
But I think coaches like that. And I think athletes like that, the athletes that are really strong. I always say for me, when I got recruited here, the GRIAC is probably the only reason I'm here because I ran well at this meet because it was a 5K. And at that time in Minnesota, girls ran 4K. So the extra K helped me, but also the hard course helped me because it was just a course that I ran much better on than the flat, fast courses. And so it plays to different people's strengths. And we know it well enough that we're able to finesse around it a little bit. But yeah, no, it's definitely a course that has mixed reviews. I think people appreciate it and they respect it, but whether people would say they like it, even on our own team, might be a little bit of a stretch.
Gotcha. And so you get a little home field edge, home course edge, so to speak, as you know the ins and outs necessarily of it. How much, this again, we're going into a sidebar, but that's what you get when you listen to the Go Gopher podcast.
Heck yeah.
How much do you scout the courses when you go, like you're going to Loyola? I don't know if you've done that every year or if it's a new trek, so to speak, for you, but how much do you, I don't know, with Google Maps now or whatever, can you look and say, okay, there's the topography or whatever? Yeah,
so there's some courses that we know really well. I mean, I would say typically we know most courses in the country because we've either been on them or we know people that have. The Big Ten tends to rotate courses. So like we're at Michigan State this year. We ran Michigan State back in 2011. So like we know it, we've been on it, but we do like the day before we go out and jog the course, and so the kids can get a sense of what it's like, and we can see, where some of the maybe trouble spots are or the hard spots are, and plan for that. There are oftentimes for championships too, there are like preview races. So, Michigan State last weekend hosted their normal kind of early season invite that they always host, but they kind of called it a Big Ten preview. So teams that actually wanted to go race it, and there's years that we've thought we had a good shot to win a Big Ten title, like, back in 2021, the women won Big Ten Cross, and we made a point of going to Penn State early in the season to actually run a race there to kind of preview what it was going to feel like at the Big Ten meet. So there's a little bit of gamesmanship with that too, where you kind of plan your schedule, and there's some courses that I find are really important to race in advance if you feel like you need to do well at that meet, and there's some courses that are pretty self-explanatory and they don't really require an early season race.
Yeah.
And so it's not always an exact science, but definitely there is some scouting involved. There is talking to people. There's people, we know people that if we haven't been there, someone has been, and we can kind of say, hey, what do you think? What do you know? Just like, you think about watching game film for basketball, right? Like if you haven't played that team, somebody you know has played that team and they can share their game film or whatever, however that works. But so it's a little bit like that. But like the Loyola course is a track with grass on top of it. So you don't really need to see it because there is not a hill in the vicinity. So, you know what you're going to get, but that's pretty rare. Most of them, there's going to be some things around there that you want to know what's coming.
So you're in a unique spot. Cross country is one of the few sports that you really have one, like we said, home meet. The rest are on the road. So fans, like, if you're a Gopher baseball fan, you get to see your team multiple times. Football has their 7 home games. Basketball, you got the one deal. And if it's on a weekend where somebody's busy, they don't get to come watch you. So I'm guessing there are a lot of people who are Gopher fans that have maybe never been to this. 39 years of this huge event. So give some advice to the people who come. They know, your diehards, they're going to figure out where to go and what to do. So novice cross-country fans, but they want to support the Gophers. They know you've had success as a program. What should they do Friday? I mean, they could come Saturday and watch the high schoolers too, but Friday, if they want to watch the Maroon and Gold run, what's the advice?
Well, we'd love to have everybody. It is a very active spectator sport, which I think is actually really fun. You're not coming and sitting in the bleachers. It's great for kids. It's great for families because you are running around the course and checking stuff out. My best advice, the maps are tricky. Some courses are looped and you just kind of stand in one spot and you can see people multiple times. Our course is not really like that, but there's definitely the diehard fans, and it's funny to watch a cross country race like from afar, because you just see the group of runners go by, and then you see the hordes of fans sprinting to a different location, and so you just follow the herds. Like, you just follow people around. There definitely are a few places that you could stand and see 3 or 4 points of the race without having to move too far, but there's also the parents and the fans that literally are probably getting in 4 or 5 miles of running around the course during the race. So wear your running shoes. Don't come in, in your sandals or whatever if you want to see a bunch of the course. But it's a fun experience. It's a fun spectacle. It's definitely very different than any other sporting event, even track, because track you can sit in the bleachers and watch almost everything. So it's really a very unique sport that it's not, it's hard for Big Ten Network to cover, because you don't just get to set up one camera and have a student worker, move it back and forth on the court. You have to have something on the lead card, and you have to have drones, and you have to have people all over. So like I said, it's definitely something to be seen if you've never been to one before. It's definitely a sight, and it's fun. Like I said, I think, selfishly speaking, I think it's fun because you aren't just sitting there. You can be active and be running around and get your steps in. So
I'm putting you on the spot. You have no notes. You're here because you know everything. What's the time? What's the schedule? When will the Gophers run? Both Friday and then Saturday as well, if people want to come.
So Friday, the Division I races are at 10 and 10:45. So the men run first at 10, the women run at 10:45 out at Les Bolstad. There are Division II, III races after that as well. So those are at 11:30 and 12:15, which have a bunch of the local Division II, Division III schools. So that's a great opportunity to watch, St. Kate's and I almost said St. Thomas. They're in the Division I, and McAllister and all those guys race, so that's a great opportunity. And then the high school races on Saturday start at 9 a.m. and the last race goes off at 2:15. So there's 8 high school races on Saturday. So basically anytime during that time you stumble over, you can see a lot of racing. So, but yeah, like I said, we'd love to have people out on Friday, maybe go into work a little late and say you're out golfing and you're at a golf course, but you're really not, and come check it out.
Awesome. So that's all the details in terms of, what the meet's all about and everything else. So let's talk about your teams.
Yeah.
Let's start with the women. Obviously, both teams have had success over the years. You mentioned the women in 21, right?
Yep.
Won in the conference championship. You're on a nice run of qualifying for the NCAAs, all of that stuff. So tell us about your women's group right now.
Yeah, we've had a lot of good success on the women's side. Like you said, we've been at nationals, 17 of the last 20 years. And there's only 31 teams in the country that make it. So that's a pretty great stat. A tribute to all the women we've had come through the program and the consistency of the program. Last year we were 18th at nationals. We made it back. We had a couple-year hiatus with a big transition. After that 21 team, we used COVID to our advantage, and we lost 5 sixth-year seniors after COVID, so we had a little rebuild to go. But last year we really got back on track, so to speak. And we've got a great group. We lost a couple kids off that team this year, but we definitely bring back a good majority, and we've got a really strong core this year with like Izzy Schmitz and Izzy Raymer and Allie Weimer, Zoe Dundon, Nadia Phillips. Like, those guys were all on our national roster last year. And so we've really excited about that. We've got Taylor Isabel, who's a younger athlete that's really made a huge jump this fall from Mounds View. And so I think we've got, I think every bit as strong of a squad as we had last year. So that'll be fun to see how they evolve as a new team and figure out their roles. This, like you mentioned, this is kind of our first bigger test. I kind of equate these regular season races to midterms. And so this is we had a quiz at Oz, but this is our first midterm at GRIAC. Doesn't mean as much as the final, but it's certainly important. And on the men's side, I think really our young guys are really starting to get it figured out. The guys' transition is so much different than the women, because the women go from 5K in high school to 6K in college, and the men go from 5K in high school to 8K and 10K in college. So that transition, you can get a high school female that comes in and as a true freshman can make a really big impact. And on the men's side, that's just so rare, no matter how great of a high school athlete they were. And so now we've got a really good core of redshirt sophomores on the men's side that are really elite level kids from the Minnesota and Wisconsin area. Aiden Jones is a Washburn kid who's going into his year 3 and really started to turn a corner. And Aloysius Franzen's a kid from Wisconsin who's a state champ from Wisconsin and is doing a great job in year 2. Sam Scott from Minneapolis Southwest, Nolan Sutter from Chaska, those guys are in year 2. So you're seeing this core of guys that were really, really, really elite high school kids that have now gotten a year or 2 under their belt and are really starting to put some pieces together. So the men's side, I think, has a lot of upside, but a little more unproven. And so I think they feel that. They feel that little chip of, hey, nobody really expects us to do much, but we know what we've got, and we know we've got got some tools on paper. And I think this will be a little bit of a coming out party for them, hopefully, to kind of show what they've got and then build on the momentum going into the rest of the season.
And the men, of course, and it's not a one-to-one correlation because there's a mesh point and you're not counting hammer throws and all that, but the track season last spring, does that help momentum-wise a little bit for cross country as well?
Yeah, I think so. The men, for people that don't know, the men got 7th at the national championship in outdoor track. We had a national champion in Costas and the hammer, and we went 1-2 in that event. And I think just being around guys of that caliber and being around the professionalism and sort of the focus of, hey, we've got guys in the locker room that are some of the most elite people in the world. I mean, we just had 3 of our athletes compete at the World Championships, Charles and Costas and Aguilos. And when you've got guys like that in the locker room that you can pick their brain or just watch how they operate, I think that absolutely trickles into everything that we do. And when there's big goals like that, there's big goals that the track team on the men's side and the women's side, but the men's side over the next couple of years wants to stay in that top 10 nationally. And I think the distance guys need to know and do know that they can also contribute to that. And if we want to make another step in the Big Ten and in the nation, we need everybody to be kind of up in that potential scores. And I think we've got guys on campus right now that over the next couple of years have that ability to keep making that progress, and not necessarily other distance runners to follow in that template, but being able to look at other teammates to say, okay, what are you doing and how are you doing it to get to that next national level versus maybe just the Big Ten level.
Conference expansion, the 4 teams they added, how much more competition is that now in Big Ten competition?
I mean, I think in every sport it has become the national championship caliber. Everybody, I think on the women's side last year in the Big Ten, 9 teams made it to the national championship out of 31. So a third of the national field was in our conference. So in some ways it's great. In some ways it's really exciting to compete against those teams week in and week out. On the distance side, certainly Oregon and Washington have had a huge distance tradition. Oregon goes back to the days of Steve Prefontaine and winning national titles, and Uncle Phil helps a lot in the track area because he's a big track guy. Nike's a big track thing. And so there's certainly some resources there that most track teams and cross-country teams don't have. But yeah, and then on the track side, USC and UCLA. So really, initially when it was just USC and UCLA, it was kind of like, oh, that doesn't change cross a whole lot. They're more track focused. They're more speed, power focused. And then when you through Oregon and Washington in there, it was like, well, okay, now we're all in it. Now we're all feeling the same pinch.
We've pushed a few more chips in the middle, yeah.
Yep. So yeah, again, it makes it hard. It makes it challenging, but everybody's doing that. And I think an 18-team conference, regardless of who it is, presents a lot of challenges because every team having one good athlete, when you only score 8 people on the track, there's 18 good people in every event, just 1 per team, and some teams like us, we have 4 great hammer throwers, so it really does change the dynamic. The schools themselves, absolutely, but just also the size because it's just adds. But again, that's what we all signed up for. And, maybe we didn't know we were signing up for quite this, 20 years ago when I started this. But I think that's what raises everybody's level. We sit in staff meetings and figure out, okay, the goal hasn't changed. The goal to win Big Tens is still the same. So now we just have to figure out how to do it. When Nebraska came in and those guys came in, Nebraska thought they were going to come in and run away with the track conference. They'd won the Big 12, I don't know how many times, and their women have never won, and their men have won, I think, twice. And so you just got to figure it out. You got to figure out how to play the game in a different way. And it's like Moneyball, you figure out how to work the system the best way your program knows how, and hope you can get to the end.
Yeah, we were commenting before we came on how time flies, and I'm not trying to make you or I feel old. This is the 39th GRIAC. You're 27th in one way, shape, or form now.
Yep. Yeah. No, it is. I'm old. Yeah. I was talking to my team last spring, and I've started to feel old, but I started to feel really old when I realized that only one of the women on my women's distance roster had seen the movie A League of Their Own.
Oh wow!
As female athletes, I was like, okay, this is unacceptable. Or even like Mighty Ducks. We did a quiz, like a trivia thing, and our track team, like 2/3 of them had never heard of the movie Mighty Ducks. Yeah. So anyway, that
it was
also
before they were born. It
is. But you just feel like that's in the ethos, right? But yeah. So I started running at the GRIAC when I was a junior in high school. I think the GRIAC is the reason I'm sitting right here. It was the only reason I think I got recruited to the University of Minnesota, and then the only reason I got this job was because I was an athlete here and was able to get in the fold here. So yeah, the GRIAC has meant a lot to a lot of us for a long time, and I've told the story a few times, but I remember wearing my Roy GRIAC Invitational shirt at an indoor track meet when I was in high school, and I was waiting for my mom to come pick me up at the end of the meet, and I was standing outside the field house, and Roy, who I obviously did not know at the time very well, I knew who he was, but he had no idea who I was, came out and kind of looked at me and looked at my shirt, and he said, "I like your shirt." And I looked at him and I said, I like your meat. And that was kind of the exchange. And so that was kind of the start of all of it. And like I said, it just, this place, this sport, this school, the meet holds a lot in my heart because it has done a lot for me and my family. And it's offered some amazing opportunities that I never would have dreamed in 1998 when I ran my first GRIAC that, I'd be sitting here by any stretch of the imagination. So, but it's a pretty cool story. It's a pretty fun fairy tale to be living.
That T-shirt exchange there, we lost Roy 10 years ago. I was thinking it was like 4 or 5. I'm sure Roy's family obviously knows it's more than that, but you lose track of time. COVID in there, whatever. But it's 10 years now, and I know he meant so much. It was so fun. I've interviewed him many times over the years. We did a whole deal when he was in the war and coming back from World War II, and he did a great story on when he was actually teaching, because years ago you coaches had to teach classes too, and how he made kids turn their hats around and couldn't wear hats, it wasn't just backwards, you can't wear hats, all that
you did
stuff.
Not put your feet on a chair when Roy was around. You did not. No.
So what's your best memories, and what did Roy mean to you?
There's so many, and by the time I got around Roy, he was obviously sort of past his coaching, so I never really saw him in coaching action as much as some, because he'd already retired, but he was still around as like kind of a supporter of the program and a booster and sort of a program administrator, if you will. But I think one was just his love for this place. And again, I kind of feel the same that he felt in that way, that this place has given me so much. And I think just how much he bled maroon and gold is so, so vital. But also just how much he loved runners of all kinds. And when he would come to GRIAC, he would love, first of all, he hated that it was GRIAC, and he hated that he had to take him. He loved the kids, but he didn't want to be the show pony, right? He didn't want to be out there. He wanted to be on a cart, cutting down trees, spray painting the course. He wanted to be doing the work. He didn't want to be sitting in a chair signing autographs, right? He didn't, that was never his style. But he would just love the 400th high school kid that was coming down the line with snot coming down their face. And he's not a lot of talent there, but they're trying so hard. And it was true. He loved that kid. He loved that kid that said, there's probably, they may never run in college. They may never, be anything, but they are a cross country runner. They're one of us. They're a person that's doing this and out there. And his big quote was always snotty nose tough, and in cross country you had to be snotty nose tough because you had to be that kid that was willing to grind down the home straightaway. And, and it's kind of gross and it's kind of, whatever, but there's a lot of bodily fluids involved with racing. But yeah, that was what he loved about it. And I think that was a special thing. He wasn't the guy that was just watching the winner and then going over to hand hold the winner. He was the guy that was sitting at 200 meters out watching every single kid come across the line and encouraging and supporting, and because he just genuinely loved the sport and what the sport did for people and the opportunities it gave people, not because certain kids were faster than others.
Yeah, so cool. Well, gophersports.com gets you all the info. Rewind the podcast if you missed, because Sarah gave us all the time starts without notes. Very impressive. Very impressive.
Do my best.
You've done this a few years, that's for sure. Well, hey, I'm 3 minutes past when I said you could go. I know you got a meeting, so we'll let you go.
It's all good.
Enjoy the week. Enjoy the Friday, and good luck with the team and the meet.
Appreciate it, Grim. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Always appreciate it, and appreciate you coming in on such a busy week. We're going to talk blood drive coming up in a moment, but first, let me tell you about OnX Fish. Summer is winding down, and that means you still have a little time to get out on the boat and wet a line. Let OnX Fish help you find the next best bite. The Fish app offers the most comprehensive fishing tool for increasing your success. Use the Fish app to find new places to fish. You can sort by lakes, by species, abundance, trophy, and keeper potential. OnX Fish also shows you hotspots, lake-by-lake regulations, private and public land ownership info, and more. Download OnX Fish on the App Store or go to this webpage, onxmaps.com/fish, to get more information about the app that's changing the game on water. It's episode 188 rolling on, and we have a real fun interview segment here with Kristen Ruffner. She's Division Vice President, Global Clinical Affairs of Abbott's electrophysiology business, and she is going to talk about a thing we've talked about on our radio broadcast, and it's the We Give Blood Drive. Big Ten institutions are having a bit of a fun competition that, one, literally is helping save lives, and two, is fun because there's an opportunity for one of these Big Ten schools to take home a big prize. Kristen, great to see you, and thanks for joining us here on our Go Gopher podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I'm excited to be here to talk about this very important blood drive.
Abbott has been a key driver in a lot of different cool events, and this is certainly one of them. Give us just some background, if you would, Kristen, a little bit about what the We Give Blood Drive is all about.
Well, the We Give Blood Drive, it's a nationwide blood donation campaign, and it's led by Abbott. And we partner with the Big Ten Conference, and this is really aimed towards addressing critical blood shortage in the U.S. and what I would consider kind of a very spirited campaign with University of Minnesota and our other conference teams.
And in essence, anyone who gives blood, one, obviously all the donors, the more donors, the better, but anyone who gives blood, if they go through and make sure that they have marked down on a web page that they have given blood and it counts, at the end of the day, the winning school gets paid off literally, right? In this case, Kristen?
Absolutely. So Abbott will give $1 million to the winning school to use towards health and wellness across the students and the community. So you can imagine what that amount of money would do for the University of Minnesota in helping the wellness of the community and the students.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it is for community health and advancement of students. I regret to inform everyone Nebraska won it last year. Those darn Cornhuskers, they won it. So there is work to be done here, Golden Gopher fans. Let's get out, donate blood, help save lives, and see if we can't get Minnesota number one in this. Let's talk about the need for blood donations, Kristen, and why this is such an important topic.
Well, just first I want to point out that every donation will help up to 3 people. And you imagine what that can do in terms of helping patients that undergo trauma, that are having very serious surgeries, going through chemotherapy. And so that can be used by hospitals across Minnesota. And I should mention that regardless of where you live, where you donate, that money, that blood donation, again, will help up to 3 people. And I want to make sure that I don't forget to mention that you can go to our website to make your donation, and that is the big10.org/Abbott.
And that's the key piece to the whole thing, right? I mean, obviously, we want everyone to give blood. If they happen to forget to register their donation, life goes on, in some cases quite literally with this. But if you want to take part in helping Minnesota try to win the contest, you need to register your donation at that webpage, big10.org/Abbott. So in some sense, the most organized donating alumni base or student base or fan base is probably the group that's going to win this thing, right?
It is, and as you mentioned, Nebraska won last time, but I would say Nebraska that watch out. University of Minnesota is going to do this year, and we've got a lot of enthusiastic University of Minnesota alum. So that's something that is very, very important to us.
Let me give that webpage again. So all these Gopher blood donors that go donate blood, and certainly we encourage that. Once you have done that, then you need to register that donation at big10.org/Abbott. Now, can people, Kristen, donate at any blood bank or blood donation location?
Absolutely. Any participating location can be used. Individuals can go to those locations and donate their blood.
And the goal I see here on one of the sheets that I have in front of me is trying to get 5,000 blood donations per school. That would be just a wonderful number, wouldn't it? I mean, think of the 18 Big Ten schools. If you multiply that by 5,000 blood donations, that's a difference maker.
Yeah, that absolutely. And being a Gopher myself, it is very important to me that we get this competition going with the University of Minnesota. And again, with that many donors, as you mentioned, imagine one donation saving up to 3 lives. I mean, that could be very, very significant.
Yeah, and you mentioned you're a Gopher as well, and you're based in the Twin Cities. Abbott has such a great presence here, and they've done so many things, not just for the Gophers, but for the state of Minnesota, obviously the country too, but regionally, Abbott has a huge presence. We've talked about this in the past at different and various times, that Abbott does a nice job of utilizing University of Minnesota graduates as a talent pool of people to work. Take me through that relationship and how you got started with Abbott yourself, and I'm sure you work with many fellow Gophers.
Oh, I actually do, very, very much so. So I did my master's and PhD from the University of Minnesota years ago, and I've continued to be part of different areas of the university. I have a lot of colleagues within Abbott that come from the University of Minnesota. So definitely, Abbott does partner with the U to get some quality employees, very competent employees. So it's been a very great partnership.
And this idea, do you know how kind of the origin of the idea to get Big Ten schools? I know it's a national campaign, but the specific part of getting the Big Ten schools involved with this?
Well, I think it stems from Abbott's desire to address the nationwide blood shortage issue. And we just want to make sure that we're getting the word out to donate as much as you can.
When folks log into this webpage, big10.org/Abbott, what will they need to know about their donation? Is it just a number on there, or do we know how that works?
You'll notice on the website that you can select University of Minnesota and you can log in your donation there, but it's very self-explanatory. I was on there just this morning to make sure that it was all very clear, but it's very simple to go through.
Very good. And again, it's an opportunity for it's a fun competition and a friendly competition, but it's a competition. So hopefully all of the Gopher fans out there get involved too. It's literally a life-saving opportunity. The dates for this, it looks like August 27th all the way through December 5th. So there potentially is an opportunity for someone to donate even more than once, right, in that time period in terms of how often you're allowed to donate?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a fairly long period of time. So we still have plenty of time between now and December 5th to really make a difference.
The winning school will be announced at the Big Ten Football Championship game. That is on December 3rd. That's the first weekend in December. So that is kind of fun as well. I had just a couple of numbers here in terms of prepping for this interview with you, Kristen. And one of it says that some blood centers now have less than 1 day supply of blood. And when that's what they specialize in, certainly you'd love to see those supplies go up. So not only are you helping potentially up to 3 people, but you're also helping boost these supplies, which is so important.
That's exactly right. And I was just doing some research myself yesterday and found out that Minnesota, we're down to a 2-day supply as of August 2025, and that's far short of what the goal is of a 7-day supply. So definitely can make a huge difference.
Yeah, so it's the need for blood is certainly there. It's always constant, all kinds of different needs for it. Obviously, if there's, these, I think a lot of times we think of these, horrific events where it's a mass casualty situation where all at once you need it, but it is a daily situation. Every 2 seconds, somebody nationally needs some sort of a blood some sort of a blood donation to help them in their life.
Right, and you're right. It does help kind of these horrific events, but it helps with everyday surgeries, with trauma, with patients and children that are going through chemotherapy. Can make a very big difference.
Lastly, Kristen, let's talk a little bit just about Abbott in general, too. Tell us, for folks that maybe have heard Abbott and know a little about it, give us a little background on the company.
Oh, wow. So Abbott's been around a long time, and we have so many different businesses and patients that we serve. Myself, I'm in the medical device area, as you mentioned, in electrophysiology. So it's, to me, our mission is very personal to me. And we help so many patients, and that's why this type of a blood donation program is so important. That it does help with our mission of Abbott in general.
It's so cool, such a cool event. One more time, because again, the key part is to give blood. But if you want to win this competition for the University of Minnesota and potentially help U of M with $1 million from Abbott as part of this competition, the key is to log the donation and be very organized about it. And to do that, you go to big10.org/Abbott. It looks like here it says that you can get info and proof of donation by texting the word donate to Abbott. That's ABBOTT. So text donate to 222688. So there are a couple of ways to go about that. There's a real-time leaderboard, so we can check out where Minnesota sits. And the other thing is, word of mouth is so big in this, right? If you give blood as an individual, tell your friends and relatives and moms and dads and sons and daughters and cousins and whoever else, aunts and uncles, to go make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And watch out, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Here we come. University of Minnesota. We're gonna get up on that leaderboard very soon.
Very good. Kristen, thank you so much. Great info, a real fun opportunity here that is making a difference nationally, and certainly a difference that Golden Gopher fans can have. Kristen Ruffner with Abbott. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
My thanks to Kristen Ruffner from Abbott for sharing all the pertinent details on how you can help save a life by the invaluable donation of blood, while also potentially helping the University of Minnesota cash in on a $1 million donation. Big10.org/Abbott for all the details to get the Gophers credit when you donate blood. Also, my thanks to the very popular and talented Sarah Hopkins, who previewed the upcoming Roy Griak Invitational, the 39th annual. Episode 188 is presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're buying or selling a business, visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com. OnX Fish also sponsors the show. Happy fishing from OnX Maps. Again, I'd invite you to listen to past podcasts, and please be sure to subscribe to the Go Gopher podcast right now. It's free to subscribe and free to listen. And please share the link to the podcast with others so they can subscribe and listen as well. And if you enjoyed the podcast, let us know that by giving us some positive feedback on your social media channels. We'll talk again next week.